Welcome to Algebra 0.2. This is classifying real numbers. In our lab today, we talked primarily about rational, integer, and whole numbers. So that's what we're going to cover in our notes today. And then we will have a second video lesson over complex numbers where we break it down a little bit more. So first part of our notes, we talked about whole numbers. Whole numbers are 0 plus counting numbers. Okay, so that would be 0, and then the numbers we count with 1, 2, 3, and so forth. We wouldn't have 2.5 sheep. We don't want to cut the sheep in half. We're going to be humane to the sheep. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. We don't have negative sheep. We have 1, 2, 3 sheep. And we have 0. Then we talked about having integers. So an integer includes all of our whole numbers. So it's 0, our whole numbers, and our negative whole numbers, or the opposites of our whole numbers. Right? So that means I'm still going to have my 0, 1, 2, and 3, and so on. That's our dot, 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 means continue in that pattern. But we're also adding -1, -2, -3, and so on. Right? So those are our integers. And then when we broke integers with division, that gave us rational numbers, which are a ratio or fraction of integers. Right? So we said, for example, 1/2 or maybe 2/3, as well as their decimal equivalents. So 1/2 would be 0.5, 2/3 is 0.6 repeating. Rational numbers will have a decimal equivalent that either terminates or repeats. If it doesn't terminate or repeat, it's not a rational number. We'll look at those separately. So we're going to create a diagram that we can use for our initial practice. We're going to start with a very large rectangle. I'll use my drawing tool here. And this rectangle is going to represent our rational numbers, which we use the number Q to represent. Rational numbers. So specifically out here, that could, remember, that's a ratio of any two integers. That could be -6 divided by 2, which is -3. That's an integer. That would include 10/5. Those are integers. So these are rational numbers, even though they're also integers. But that's also going to include numbers that aren't integers, like the 1/2 or 0.5. And let's say 5/3, which is 1.6 repeating. That's our terminating decimal. And our repeating decimal. So these are some examples of rational numbers that aren't integers. Then within rational, we're going to have a subcategory. I'm going to do this one in blue. Okay, and these are our integers, which, to be fancy, we represent with the letter Z. Okay, integers. And integers are our positive and negative whole numbers, so that's -3, -5, as well as our positive numbers, 10 and 12. Okay, and then our subtype within integers is our whole numbers, which is going to, so whole is going to be W. Okay, our whole numbers, which is 0, and our counting numbers. And so forth. That can be 10, that can be 100,000, are all whole numbers. So this is the diagram that we'll use to help us with our exercises. Make sure that you have this complete before our next class, and we will practice with you soon. See you in class.